So hello developers, in this video we will learn about the concept of closures. So when a function is defined inside another function, the inner function has access to the variables of outer function. Even after the outer function is executed, the inner function still remembers and can use those outer variables, but vice versa is not true. So this is the definition of closures, and closures are same like lexical scoping. Closures also allows to keep data private and remember values across function calls, example counters. And in simple terms, closures allows the function to remember the environment in which it was created. So for this, we will use the example of counters. This is the basic example of closures. Okay. So first we will create a function, create counter. Inside that function, we will declare one variable count and initialize it to 0. Okay. And inside create counter function, we will create another function. We will name it increment. This is the inner function. And inside this function, we will increment the count variable by 1. And then we will print that variable count. Okay. So now this count, it is in the outer scope of increment. This is increment function. So now this count variable, it is declared in the outer scope of increment. Declared. It is in the outer scope of increment function. And now we are in increment function. It has access to count that is in the outer scope. So now increment function has the access to this count variable. So basically this is the closure. This is the concept of closure. We can use this count variable inside another function from its outer scope. Okay. Now this create counter, it will return increment function. Return increment. So the outer function will return the inner function. Return inner function. Okay. So now we are going to call this create counter. Create counter. Okay. So here counter is now a function that has access to count variable. Okay. So this create counter, it goes into this variable counter. So now counter has access to this count. Okay. Now we will call this counter function. Okay. So can you guess what will be the output here? We are calling counter. Okay. So it will call this create counter. Okay. Initially it is 0. Okay. So now it is 0. So then increment function will be called. And here it will goes to 1. It will increment to 1. And now it will print as console log output 1. We will run this in the terminal. So the output is 1. If we again call it, then output will be 1, 2 and 3. We need to save the file. Again run it. Okay, so output is 1, 2 and 3. So this is the counters based on the example of closures. So here create counter is an outer function that defines a variable count. The inner function increment is returned here, okay, from the outer function. Create counter will return increment function. So when counter is called, we are calling counter here. It still has access to the count variable, okay, even though create counter has already finished executing. So this is because increment forms a closure around the count. Okay, so this is the concept of closures in JavaScript.